Good morning, almost afternoon, everybody. And it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much, Dr. Katarina, and also Nina. Thank you very much for the great introduction to Dr. Katarina. And today that we are here with our team at CrystalBlockchain in the beautiful, a bit of windy and gloomy weather of Berlin. My name is Hedi Navazan, Director of Regulatory Affairs and Compliance with CrystalBlockchain. Also, I'm Vice Chair of Global Coalition of Fighting Financial Crime Digital Asset Task Force, and I act often as the digital asset experts with United Nations, UNODC, and EGMOD Group, member of Europol, Interpol Intelligence Group. A little bit of also the background of Crystal and going further to the presentation that I have prepared today. Well, Crystal is mainly a blockchain analytic firm in the space of crypto, providing tracing of movement of cryptocurrencies, purely focused on forensics. And hence, we work with law enforcement agencies in the public sector, working with central banks, but also law enforcement agencies such as financial intelligence units, police investigation bureaus, but also private sector crypto exchanges and financial institutions. The entire point that today, one of the, I think from the forensic and crypto crime compliance and regulation is that we have, there has been a call for regulation. Today we have a MiCA regulation in Europe that is about to be implemented. It's been enforced, but there is a timeline and deadline by December for the implementation. Nevertheless, I'm having this conversation globally. Last week I was in Saudi Arabia, 2 weeks ago in Qatar at the Qatar Financial Center and Central Bank. A couple of weeks back with Virtual Asset Authority in Dubai, ADGM in Abu Dhabi, often in Washington, D.C. still debating with the senator offices what is commodity and what is security. So there are a lot of different debates going on, and we are very much proud in the European continent with our MiCA regulation. And I say our as because we are all part of this continent, and it has been a breakstone and it has been a milestone as a pioneer for other jurisdictions to follow that path. But why and how, and the need for the regulation, but why and where we are. There has been a time, of course, if we look at the entire crypto activities, crypto and people involved in it was very niche and so-called Wild West. As crypto natives also, there have been always a battle a bit between financial institutions, banking sector, and the crypto native side. And we had certain incidents in the market. We had the FTX collapse, which happened, and for which I compared to Lehman Brothers. Mainly, it's not a direct comparison, but I'm also, my background is I've worked with HSBC and a few other financial institutions. And that time when Lehman Brothers was announcing for the bankruptcy, it shook basically the Wall Street 14 years ago. We entered to the financial crisis in 2008, and globally the market was impacted. And the reason what happened with Lehman Brothers, obviously it was not, the only reason was not compliance, but before 2008, we did not have robust regulatory frameworks, compliance, market integrity, market conduct. 2008 and onwards, we had financial crisis. Of course, stock market was impacted, the entire Wall Street. Lehman Brothers was too big to fail. Everyone was saying that. And I remember when I joined the banking sector back, it was not the time that people were prestige, that I work for a bank or I'm a banker. It was after 2008, and especially when you talk to the executives at the board level, there were a lot of boardrooms, discussions going on. Banking had set their foot for the failure. The society lost their trust in banking because there has been a lot of misconduct going on. People lost their houses, mortgages, and there hasn't been at that time a robust integrity of the market integrity in place in terms of the conduct. And what happened with FTX? As they were one of the, of course, biggest in the market. It was always said, this is just too big to fail. We cannot think of, we are talking about FTX. And what happened, of course, with FTX also, they filed for the bankruptcy. But there has been some, what went wrong in 2008 and what went wrong with FTX is, there hasn't been a proper risk management. There hasn't been any disclosure. There was not a robust supervisory and regulation. There also, 2008 and before, we didn't have the role of credit agencies like Moody's and such, and the audit. And 2008, when we are also talking about the ratio of the debt to equity and asset price inflation, which is less relevant to the FTX case. But the fall of FTX, it was also too big to fail. And as you may see, the co-founder or the founder of FTX, Sam, one day he was the king of crypto. They were calling him JP Morgan of crypto. And the other day he was known for his fraudulent schemes. What happened with FTX mainly when this incident happened was initially FTX was sending the client's assets to Alameda Research, one of its sister company or in the same umbrella, basically borrowing from its balance sheet to the Alameda Research to fund the Alameda Research. Nevertheless, this has been the people's money. There has been the client users' assets. And there has been zero audit over the balance sheets. There has been no record of the cash flow, no record of the liabilities, no reserve and liquidity. So people basically lost their money. And what we also had was segregation of funds and proof of reserve was not there. And I recall when this incident happened, which is, just want to circle back how things come back together, is that when this incident happened and we were in a small, circle with big pioneer, also frontier exchanges, I don't name, but the chief compliance officers at the global level, they were discussing, of course, it was worrisome for the entire market. And what was discussed, I never forget this question in the room, that they asked, okay, look, what happened with FTX, but there was no regulation. And FTX, it was registered in Bahamas, and under the Bahamas, so they didn't have actually a BitOasis license from New York authorities. And they were located in Bahamas that time, operating from there. And the question was raised in the room. It was like, okay, what did they do wrong? There was no regulation. They didn't need to have, there was no requirement asking FTX that they do need to have segregation of funds. They need to do the audit. That was the question asked by, and if I mention the names, like by the biggest frontier exchanges. How can you? So when we are talking about market integrity, the question is this was a malconduct. Regardless, there was no regulation. Regardless that there was no authority, because also in the United States, there is this constant battle between who is the supervisory body, CFTC, or SEC, the Security Exchange Commission, who has the power to supervise the exchanges and what comes under securities law, what comes under commodities, which is more complicated than that. Nevertheless, the question was that, okay, there was no regulation, there was nothing illegal. What was wrong? What went wrong? Well, obviously, compliance and market integrity and market conduct is above and beyond of the regulation. And what was wrong? Well, the people lost their money. What was wrong? People lost their trust. This was one of the biggest incidents, but there is a small differentiate here, is that this did not shook Wall Street. Because we are not yet there. We are not yet there in terms of the global adoption of the crypto. But just imagining that if we were there, this could have had shook the Wall Street, because this was one of the biggest players. And obviously, there was a time that Binance wanted to take over, and there was discussions on the payout of the FTX. But there were also reasons why not, because we do not want to have a monopoly in the market neither. So that was also different reasons that that takeover did not take place. But these incidents are necessary for the market. If there are no incidents, we won't learn, and we won't have the call for supervisory bodies to introduce the regulation. The incidents of FTX happened before we had introduced and announced MiCA regulation. And if we look today at the MiCA regulation, there is a specific chapter on proof of reserve, segregation of the funds. You cannot mix up clients' assets. And this is something so basic in the banking and financial world. The moment that you are playing a role in the financial ecosystem, you need to follow the rules. And we had another incident, and these incidents are important for entire sector, but also for the regulators, because we had a lot of conversations. I was in that time in Washington as well, that if you are not introducing from a US market, we had the biggest tech companies, the biggest exchanges, starting from there. If you are not introducing a robust regulatory framework, your society will be damaged. The people will lose their money. And these incidents are important because regulators were quite cautious. Let's see if Bitcoin stays here or not, or what should we do? And it is, of course, staying here with us. And they were late with introducing a good, transparent regulation, and these incidents can happen because, they exist, these platforms exist. And we had another incident, which is very interesting, but a bit more complicated. If you may have known this guy, he was the co-founder of Luna Terra, which basically was a platform, for stablecoin. And what happened with Luna Terra, because I have the exact numbers here in front of me, which I can read for you exactly on the day. So basically, this was a stable coin that was built on Terra blockchain. I think everyone is pretty much familiar. Stable coin by nature, it means it's a stable coin. The name suggests the value stays, right? It would not fluctuate as we see, for example, with Bitcoin overnight. And hence, it's more, it's a stable coin. And normally, the value is retained to $1 US, and that's what you may see with Tether as well. And there are stablecoin issuers out there, centralized, decentralized. What happened exactly on May 9th? This coin was depegged. It lost its value in a matter of days to 2 cents per USD. We are talking about the worth of the value of $1 crashed to 2 cents in the matter of a couple of days. What happened there? People lost their money. And you may imagine the amount of volume. How come a stable coin loses its value? Then what happened, of course, the Do Kwon, this guy, the co-founder, was under the arrest. They couldn't find him. He was traveling here and there, hiding here and there. And at the end of it, they said, oh, the money is hacked. This is also very common in the crypto space. With FTX also, at some point, you cannot find that amount. Oh, it's been hacked. Well, this is a very good excuse because it's not always hacked. They just, they have taken out the money out of the company. And there were a lot of this. This is a more complicated case because technically speaking, you will not imagine a stable coin would go, depeg. But what was happening also is that today, it's I think a basic rule as well. It's a common sense. Today, if all of us go to one of the systematic bank, and not all of us, the entire, let's say, society, and we go to a bank, I don't name it because we don't want that happen to a bank, but we go to a specific bank and we all cash out, right? What would happen to that bank if if suddenly 50 million people cash out from the bank on the same time, same day, well, the bank may go bankrupt. They may not have the reserve, right? They may not have the liquidity. But what happens in terms of bankruptcy of the financial institution is that there is a reserve with central bank per each of us. And that's why these regulations exist to protect the users like us, to protect the citizens, the customers. It's not much of a reserve. It's 100K, at least a couple of years back, I remember, with the central bank. It's reserved for each of us if our bank goes bankrupt today. But also, it's a common sense. If all of us cash out from the same bank, they may not have the liquidity there, right away. What happened in this case, when people saw the value is depegged, everyone went to sell immediately because they saw that the coin is decreasing its value, and there was no liquidity, there was no reserve, and people lost their money. And what happened today in the regulation, at least in the MiCA regulation, what we have proof of reserve and the liquidity that needs to be available, and there are specific measures and percentage for stable coin issuers. You cannot just go issue coins to the market and list them out there without having the liquidity backed. And normally these liquidities are backed by US dollars, of course. And this was one of the other incidents that a lot of people lost their, unfortunately, their assets. But these incidents, again, are very much needed in the market. And I would like to bring this mindset back, that crypto is not bad, and they are not like, we are not bringing the negative image of crypto. It has a lot of positivity. And if you may see, we talked about Sam, the CEO, founder of FTX. And here we have Do Kwon, the co-founder of Luna, which, by the way, Sam was sentenced to the prison in the United States recently. And Do Kwon, God knows what's happening with him at the moment. And on the left side, I'm not sure if anyone knows who is, I'll go back to it. Sorry. But on the left side, I'm not sure if anyone knows this gentleman. He's quite known, or must be known, but he was the former CEO of Wells Fargo, John Stumpf. And I bring this example mainly because we are talking about Wells Fargo. In 2014, and this was big because, again, in the banking sector, this was one of those type of incidents. Wells Fargo didn't go for bankruptcy, but the CEO of Wells Fargo was attended the hearings by Elizabeth, Miss Warren, one of the senators. That she's quite. If you get a chance to be interviewed by her, you should forget about the rest of your career. But and this is a very nice video. I was not sure how technically it's possible to share the video, but in that specific hearing, of course, the now former CEO of Wells Fargo, which perhaps I'm not sure his hand is also broken off, but he gets questioned about the misconduct of Wells Fargo opening unnecessary accounts per customers to the 8 accounts per customers in order to manipulate the stock markets. And that is a very nice video. And later on with my colleague Federico, we have a workshop today and tomorrow, and we are going through that more in detail. And you're more than welcome to join. And this is one of just examples that what we are discussing here for crypto, this is nothing new. We have seen it, we have learned it from financial institutions to its best. And they have very much doing a lot of misconduct, but they are at the moment a very robust frameworks when it comes to compliance and market integrity in place. And what we are seeing with crypto sector, they're also learning. We need incidents for good lesson learned in the market, and the market is quite immature but maturing. It's also lesson learned for investors. There is no such a thing as a free lunch. You are investing, you are taking a risk. You need to know what you are investing. what type of risk you are taking. But something is interesting is that when you go to your mobile apps, or if you're investing in index funds or stock market, for example, I use ING. And in that, when you're putting some money, start investing, it gives you a bunch of questionnaires. Are you sure what are you investing? These are the requirements. I'm like, next. But what happens is of course, because they want to make sure you know what you are doing. And it's just not that you go to stock market, start investing, and you lose all your money, or you involve in short selling. And this we don't see. Still, with crypto platforms, when you start investing, there's not much information out in terms of protecting the users. And at the moment, also, for example, for stablecoin issuers, what we have again in MiCA is that there is a requirement to introduce a white paper. You need to, if you are an issuer, you need to, of course, specify what type of project you are introducing to the market. So everyone can read and know what they are getting involved. And that is quite, I think, an important element. And that hence we are calling for regulation, and we are not yet there. But so far, so good. We have done a good job with MiCA regulation. But the rest of crypto is cross-border. So we do need a cross-border collaboration between public sector and private sector getting together and share the intelligence and lesson learned. And talking earlier, one of the panels were talking about risk management. I think risk is never zero. Those involved in risk management, they know the practice. Risk is never zero. But if you do not invest in risk management, doesn't matter what type of business you are, it can be a risky business. And you need to manage the risk for your business well. Since we are a crypto blockchain intelligence and talking about type of crypto crime, I thought give it a little bit of a flavor about type of crimes exist in crypto. And what I like to show as a very small case study, and we go deep dive later on in the workshops, is that as you see, there is an exchange that is being on the screen called Garantex. Some of you might have heard, some might have not, but Garantex was one of the biggest exchanges linked to Russian Federation, the Russian government, and it was sanctioned by OFAC. They were pretty much involved in facilitating the transactions between darknet marketplaces. Darknet marketplaces are basically marketplaces that exist online. It's through different websites. And majority of the use case of the darknet marketplaces is you buy, sell drugs, weapons, fake IDs, you ask for an illegal service like killing someone, murdering someone, you may name it. I hardly can imagine of any legit use of a darknet marketplace. But what does darknet marketplace has linked? And as you see here, I have put darknet marketplaces. This is a type of a crime we see in crypto because these services are paid in cryptocurrency. That's why it's linked to crypto when it comes, we are observing the crypto crime. And Garantex was one of those exchanges that had its majority of the payments coming from darknet marketplaces. And what happened here is that, what I like to show you, and I go backward. OFAC sanctioned Garantex somewhere, I think was 5th April, but don't quote me on that because I have to check exactly the date. But as you may see, OFAC, and OFAC for those, it's a US Treasury that they actually run the most comprehensive sanction programs overall globally. So they sanctioned Garantex under the cybercrime program, mainly for their involvement with a lot of movement of the funds from darknet marketplaces, specifically Hydra Marketplace. You may have heard of it, but Hydra Marketplace was one of the biggest darknet marketplaces. It also got shut down in collaboration actually with German authorities and American government. And majority of that also fund was moved from Garantex. But what is happening? Criminals are always ahead of us. So OFAC sanctioned Garantex, but as you may see from our intelligence, the activities of Garantex did not drop. As you see, the activities, till October, we were observing the activities of Garantex. Despite the fact they got sanctioned, their addresses were added in the OFAC list, but their activities even increased. What happens here? As you see, and this is an investigation on chain, which later on my colleague Federico from former intelligence unit in Italy as well, he will share more practice on that. But this is the on-chain investigation that we could see these criminals opening a wallet address only for 5 days, closing that wallet address, opening it again in 5 days, moving the fund, closing the address. And that's how they were moving a lot of funds in between and still operating. And this is just an example that, and this is also a beauty example of their activity heat map, as we say. We can exactly see what time, at what day. So criminals also have a pattern of exactly the time of the day they will be active during the weekdays. And this is quite intelligent to share that how they are using cryptocurrency, and they're always ahead of all of us. And there has been also other examples of crypto typologies when we are talking about the crime. We talked about Garantex, darknet marketplaces, but we also have mixing services, which are on itself, it's a beauty of crypto world, I would say. We have mixing services, as you see, it's literally like a mixing, like smoothie makers. But anyways, so we have custodial centralized mixing services, and we have also decentralized mixing services. Why they are considered? They are unique. We do not have this in traditional finance, in banking world, or financial institutional. This is really crypto native feature. And basically what happens and why it's related to crime, they are not illegal services, they are legal, but they mix the cryptocurrency, and this makes it very difficult to track once a crypto asset is hitting a mixing service, what happens after, to who this is going to be sent, or we can see the source of the fund, but it's very difficult to see the destination of the fund. And as you may, there are basically the problems when it comes to mixing services. It's very much difficult to track and trace. And that's why it's been multiple times warned by different authorities the use of mixing services in a transaction. And what we also had for the first time in the history of crypto, we had one of the big mixing services, Tornado Cash, got sanctioned also by OFAC. And we did not have this before. Nevertheless, the reason that they sanctioned Tornado Cash was mainly because Tornado Cash was used by Lazarus Group, a North Korean cybercrime related to the government of North Korea, for movement of their funds. So Tornado Cash itself was not illegal. Mixing services are used also for a lot of good reasons, for privacy reasons. If I want to donate to a campaign of a certain presidential election, I would rather use mixing service because I do not want, my donations be out there. The same. When the war happened between, unfortunately, in the invasion of Ukraine by Russian Federation, there were a lot of different Russians. They wanted to donate in favor of Ukrainian campaigns. Also, you would use a mixing service because you do not want the Russian government know, you are donating to certain campaigns against the Russian government. We have seen the good use of mixing services or receiving a salary in crypto. You again rather to receive it via mixing services as well. So there are some good cases, but there have been also used for laundering money. And in this specific case, Tornado Cash got sanctioned by OFAC mainly because of cybercrime group of North Korea was using Tornado Cash. All over, my message of today is mainly crypto is not, again, I look at it very positively, but I do think these sessions, thanks to Katarina again, thank you for organizing these type of sessions, and we have a lot of more of these working groups together, is a call for collaboration between public and private partnership. And this is not specific to crypto. We have seen it, it's always with fin crime, financial crime, in the space that we are all active. We do need to have public sector, private sector get together. When it comes to crypto, it's a lot of learning because it's so technology driven. That's a lot of learning for the public sector from private sector and a lot of intelligence sharing together. And I think that's how best we can play a role, around this sector. And I would like, again, to thank you for being patient, listening a bit more on crypto crime trends, and would very much welcome you later on to the workshops that we are going more deep dive tracing on chain. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.